And for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. We have Monday, October 18th Commissioner meeting. First up is our public comment. All we ask is that you be respectful of everyone's time if you have anything. Not seeing anyone. We will move on to Mr. John Fickle. Does not look like he's here either. So we will move on to our next one, which is Mr. Lee Moyer for consideration for the Alcohol and Beverage Board. Mr. Moyer, if you would give us a few moments and kind of just tell us about your interest, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I'm Lee Moyer, and I'm interested in serving on the Alcohol Beverage Commission, just purely out of curiosity as to how it works. I'm a retired teacher, retired college professor, retired store owner. I have time. So there's time to do something worthwhile. And I heard about a vacancy, and so thought I'd express my interest.
Great. I will say very rarely do we have people reach out wanting to serve on boards for us. Most of the time we are having to hunt them down. And Mr. Moyer called me, and I was ecstatic to receive his call and have interest. I have a lot of respect for him as he was my 10th grade English teacher, so I know how he conducts his business, and I think he'd be a great addition to the board. So I would, Mark, unless you have some questions.
No, I don't. You've done a good job, it looks like, on this young man, but
Thank you.
I'd make a motion to nominate you for the Alcohol Beverage Board.
I will second that. Mr. Moyer will take over the vacant position on the Alcohol Beverage Board starting today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good luck.
Next up is John Quarry with a Division A change order. Good morning, John.
Good morning. Pass this out here.
Thank you, John.
John Quarry with HWC for the record. As Jordan mentioned, this is change order 3 for Division A, which was the sewer portion of the I-65 State Road 28 Utility Improvements Project. There's several items on this change order, as this project is essentially it's substantially complete and nearly final complete as well on this project. So just kind of running through these items. There's basically 7 things on this change order. Number 1 is a credit for deleting the pipe bollards at Lift Station 2. That was at the request of Frankfort Municipal Utility staff. Thought it would be easier access without those bollards, so those were taken out. That was a credit of $6,896. Item 2 is a credit for using non-domestic valves at one of the force main structures, and that was due to some time delays and supply chain issues due to COVID. So to get those valves in time, it was a non-domestic valves in that one structure. So that was a savings of $1,827. Item 3 was a 6-inch replacement flow meter at Lift Station 1. That was a manufacturing kind of an error there on that, and it was required to be replaced by the contractor. So that was a replacement flow meter. That was $5,079. Item 4 is marker posts for manholes that are located in farm fields, and that was requested by Frankfort for being able to locate those easily and keep the farm equipment from hitting those castings of those structures. So they have fiberglass utility markers at each of those manholes, 2 of them in each structure. That was an increase of $12,504. Item 5 was a drainage tile replacement on line A along County Road 800. It was an unforeseen drainage tile there. about 1,200 feet, and it was a 12-inch PVC tile. So that was reinstalled, and for that length, that cost increase was $22,385.53. And then item 6 is the final quantity adjustment for the project. When you're doing a unit price project like this, at the end you make adjustments on the quantities for maybe additional pipe that was put in, or less pipe, or manhole structures, or valves, things like that. All those items that are broken out, if there's additional pipe or less in some cases, it's a adjustment. The final quantity adjustment is $64,467.42. Now, the big item there, as Josh is well aware, he's not here today, but is on County Road 800, the new county road. Due to delays with EDA, the plan was to have this sewer in before the new road came in, and it would be an open trench, open cut excavation. Due to those delays with the EDA funding, the road work proceeded, and the new roadway was put in because they couldn't wait any longer. So there had to be a trenchless excavation for that sewer, to jack and bore across the new County Road 800 to avoid any damage to that new roadway, which was discussed earlier on in the project. So that was a big item that really made that final quantity an increase, because there were several items that were decreases as well in that final quantity adjustment. But that item itself was over 100,000. So that's what brought that to an increase on the final quantity there. The last item, 7, was a schedule extension, as mainly due to the delays with the generators at each lift station site. Again, with the pandemic and supply chain issues with equipment, there was a significant delay getting those generators to the lift station sites and getting those set on that. So no cost associated with the schedule extension there. So when you add those items up, the 6 items that had costs associated with it, it's a total of $95,712.95. Now, that's the overall contingency that was planned for this project was $328,000. So we've had 3 change orders to date, with the cost being $106,775.55. If you had this change order and change order 1, change order 2 was a no cost change. So overall, from the contingency that was planned and what was used, it was a savings of $221,000, roughly in that ballpark. So for a project of this size, you're almost $7 million. So with that contingency plan, what was actually used, it's a pretty good savings there in the actual contingency. And this should be the final change orders. I said they're wrapping up, should be complete here real soon. So on that, so. With that said, I guess I would ask for a motion, consideration on that for approval. Ultimately, this would be signed by the building corporations. They're the funding agency, but comes to you guys as the commissioners first for approval, and then to them.
Thanks, John. Mark, you got any
I
questions?
guess you answered my question about there won't be any more change orders, and this is pretty much,
This should be it, yeah. this
Should
time,
be?
Yeah. Unless something comes up unforeseen, this should be it. So.
What work's left to get it completed?
They've got a little bit of restoration, and then they've got to install these marker posts that I mentioned for the manholes,
Okay.
and then that's the last items.
will the marker post be permanent, or was
Yeah.
it something that will snap off or something?
They'll be permanent.
I'll make a motion to approve the change order.
I will second it. Motion carries 2-0 to approve the change order. Obviously, that's great news on the savings from the contingency, so I appreciate all the work you guys have done and the contractors, and excited to get the project live and going, so thank you.
It really is live. I mean, they're using, NHK's obviously
Yeah.
using the sewers and everything, but just a few cleanup things. So,
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Next up is Austin Green with the landfill update. Morning, Austin.
Morning.
Morning.
I don't know if your copies, not sure if you guys have them or not.
Thank you.
You guys want them? No problem. Jerry, you want one? So, as you guys know before, one of the main issues that I had was on the Walnut Creek side, where there was, some sediment that was coming off of their soil stockpile, and it was going off across the road, across 300 North there. So, I guess just to start off with that, so went out there, talked with them. We got Item out there, and Jerry Jackson is his name. We ended up getting that capped. I don't know if I talked about that in the spring meeting or not at that point. But we ended up getting that capped, so they took the same liner that they used for like the rest of the landfill. They capped that culvert off, put rock on there. There's still some water that'll percolate through that and a little bit of sediment that goes with it, which I'm trying to get them to add some sediment basins or sediment traps or something, like extra rock check dams, all kinds of stuff along that basin to try to keep the sediment out of there. But in terms of like changes, like it's a huge change. Like there's not near as much sediment that's going to be going across the road there. So
Not truckloads.
yeah, not truckloads. Yeah. So last time I had talked with them, they had just gone out there and like reseeded and everything on the grassed waterway. I haven't been out there to look at it yet. Actually, just got married recently, so that's been taking up a lot of my time. But yeah, so basically that issue, I'm still going to try to keep on them, to get extra practices out there, but it seems like it's a huge improvement. So I don't think if we see sediment out there, it won't be near as much as we had before. But that's still going to be one of I mentioned that in my report as well, is that's one of my high priority things. We need to make sure that doesn't happen again, not there or any other place. We don't ever want sediment or anything going off site. So other than that, on the west side of the road, on west side of 39, that landfill is pretty much done. I mean, it's not active anymore. They have a few rills that need basically, repaired and reseeded. But other than that, I mean, they're keeping their basins clean. And there's not really a whole lot of erosion going on, so that part's good. I don't really see any issues there. But yeah, back on that Walnut Creek side, they've got some sediment in the pond on the very south side, which I kind of noted some of this in my report. You guys can go through there and look at that if you haven't already. They're starting up the building here pretty soon, so that'll be something that I'll have to watch as well. But other than that, I think the main area of concern is just that soil stockpile and just trying to keep that stabilized and keep that from burning off site. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask away or let me know.
I guess one of my concerns is I still see it all the
Sure.
time. Do you talk to your truck drivers? Because just outside of Frankfurt, that field's just full of trash and stuff. Is that, any of that, can that get resolved?
On which part?
As you're leaving Frankfurt, going toward the landfill, right there on that curve, the field, before you get to Bunnell Cemetery,
Sure.
it's always trash and trash all the way up through there. I guess.
Okay. I can mention that to them. I don't ever really check that or anything. But yeah, I can definitely talk.
I went by the other day and there's like solid white up through there. I don't know
Oh,
if we
geez.
can do something about that or.
Yeah, it's definitely not good. I mean, I can talk with them about that if you want me to. I can kind of make a note.
For you to.
But, so with me, I typically deal with just soil and erosion.
Yeah.
So in terms of like me having any power to stop them from doing that, I can tell them about it, but
Okay.
they'll probably just laugh at me or dismiss me. So, but yeah, I guess I can talk with them and then kind of like copy you guys in there and we can kind of talk about it that way. I think that would have a little more power to it,
Yeah, I think
but
so.
I think that would be better.
Yeah.
I got a couple questions, Austin. So the last
Sure.
time you presented to us, Paul and Marty were here,
Mm-hmm.
and it sounds like some of those issues were taken care of. And we had kind of had an exchange where IDEM had said something. Was that the Jerry Jackson? Was that, I can't remember who
Yes,
it was.
sir.
And so
Yep.
he actually came out on site and you visited with him.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So he was on site when I got there. Yep.
All right.
So he was on site when I got there. I will say that the last time when Paul was in here and everything, he had said that everything was kind of taken care of, and I kind of disagree a little bit in that on that meeting, because I was like, well, maybe something had changed, and then I went out there and I didn't really see a whole lot of change. So I did want to make that minor note, not necessarily to like start up any sort of like issues there or anything, but I will say that like now, like a little bit of the spring and then fall definitely. There's been a lot of change.
Okay.
So kind of working with IDEM, we've gotten that change done. But yeah, I would say that because that was last fall, I believe, is the last time I talked to you guys about that.
It was in the spring.
Was it in the
Yeah,
spring?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I think it was June to August is when it all got taken care of,
Okay.
for the most part at least.
And will you have to have IDEM help you enforce these additional changes you'd like to see? Because like you said, you can tell them, but
Right.
making changes is a different story.
Right. So SWCD is more educational in many ways. We're kind of like the eyes and ears for IDEM in many ways. So like Rule 5, for example, like I'm the eyes and ears, and then I send it to IDEM, and then they can send it to their enforcement team. But yeah, so I'm kind of like the eyes and ears. So I've been reporting all these different things, and what they can do is IDEM as enforcement, they can go back through, and when they end up issuing fines or violations, whatever, they can go through and be like, oh well, he noted it on like 2.5 years worth of stuff, so like it'll be that times this, or that's how it is with Rule 5, and I believe with this as well. But yeah, so now that I've met on site with Jerry and talked with him a little bit, and he knows the issues and stuff, I think that we'll have a lot more, I don't want to say power all the time, but we'll have a lot more, like, I guess, push
Yeah.
to get these things done.
Okay.
So,
Well, if you need us to say anything or be involved in the email chain,
Sure.
feel free to include us. I mean, we want it to
Definitely
be
will.
resolved, and it sounds like we're getting there, but
Right.
there's always things to improve on. So
Right. I mean, it's yeah, with these and with Rule 5, construction sites and stuff, it's one of those things where it's like you want it to be done right away, but it's like you kind of gotta keep pushing over and over. But yeah, I definitely appreciate that, and I'll keep you guys in the loop as we move forward. I'm hoping that when I go out there again, then we've got a lot more things taken care of,
Yeah.
and we're on the right path.
Yep.
But yeah,
very
any
good.
more questions or?
I don't have any. No.
All right.
Thanks, Austin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up is Brianna Stinger with RQAW, the Justice Facility Feasibility Study. If you could give us a little rundown. Good morning, Brianna.
Good morning, Commissioners. Do you have a copy of this by
Yes,
chance? You
an
do?
electronic copy.
Okay, cool. All right, so today, for the record, I'm Brianna Stinger with RQAW. Thanks for having me this morning. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the Clinton County Justice Facilities Feasibility Study. Essentially, what the study will be looking at is the courthouse, the first, second, and fourth floors, along with the court system, probation, jail, sheriff's office, central dispatch as well. And it's basically allowing the commissioners to have a long-term plan whenever it comes to their justice system. So with that, if you would like to approve this proposal, I ask that you do that today. Do you have any questions?
Nope, I've read it a few times. And was you happy with it?
Yeah, I think, just to be clear, we have this approach where we're looking at the annex, and we've already had RQAW do that, and that's kind of our top priority. And then the second priority would be to, what are we going to do with the courthouse and the offices that would then potentially move in here? And this is the feasibility study of that, as well as looking at the jail long-term. So this is really, and I believe how you've explained it to me, a holistic view of the 20 years down the road of where we're going to be with our facilities and how we're going to get there. So I think we have to move forward with this. We've already started with the annex, and these are just kind of the next steps in the, I guess, the chain there. So
I'll make a motion to go ahead and have our QAW start the feasibility study.
okay, I will second. Motion carries 2-0. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you.
I have it, Jerry. I'll send it to you, and we'll get it signed here. Next up is Rick Campbell with a highway update.
Morning, Rick.
I don't have anything for you guys to sign today. We're cutting brush still and hand patching, and we got a crew out on some of the main roads pulling the stone back to the edge of the road. They got pushed away, makes a rut. So that's what we're doing right now, and starting to get some of our toys put away that we used this summer for getting ready for winter. That's about all I got.
Okay.
Everything looks nice out there, Rick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Next is Liz Stitzel with an area plan update.
Morning.
One,
I don't have a whole lot. I've got one item. We've got a hearing officer, BZA hearing today for the Johnson Township Fire Department. And they're needing some variances on their lot, none of which are terribly controversial. It's just, I think as we're all familiar, a very small area, and they're trying to put an expansion into there. One of the variances they're asking for is a parking variance. They're required to have 21 spaces. They do actually have that many cars there more often than you would think, according to them. But those spaces all have to be on site. The lot's very small. They also have to fit their drainage, their septic, the building, everything else in, landscaping. They use the road right away there to the north and sometimes to the west to park in. They've done that historically and stated it has not been a problem. But officially, I said I needed to kind of bring that to the commissioners, just make sure it's not an issue before we look at approving them having less parking on their site, which means some vehicles will continue to park there. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but you've got the railroad, and then you've got Zero coming across, and Zero has kind of gravel along the north side of it, and I've pulled in there before too. I mean, a lot of people pull in and park if you're doing stuff in that area and you need to sit for a moment, but they use that space. I'm just wanting to make sure that that's not an issue for the commissioners to reduce parking. They will still have some on-site parking. It just wouldn't be
How many?
21. Put me on the spot. I think there's 12 or 14 spaces being supplied on-site, which leaves like 10.
I can't imagine.
On the road
25
right
cars
away.
at Johnson.
I couldn't either. When we first talked about it, I was like, well, I can't imagine you need 21 spaces. And he goes, well, actually, when we're training, he said, we have that many cars there. He said, we just park along the road right away, and that's what they've always done. So,
I'm okay with the 14 cars.
Yep, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. I didn't assume it was a huge issue since it had been done forever, but I didn't want
It's
to,
not
we didn't
a
want to
big
make any
deal.
kind of vote without
Yeah.
an official opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So, no problem. I do not have anything else that I'm aware of, unless you have anything for me.
Obviously, Mr. Fickle didn't show up today, but did he appear at his court hearing at our last meeting? I think the next day or that day, he was supposed to have a court hearing. Did you ever get an update
Can
on that?
appear. I did not, but I can have one for you by the end of the meeting. I can give it to you with department heads if you give me a moment to
Okay,
text my
yeah,
staff.
that'd be fine.
Yep, not a problem.
Thank you. Okay, next up is old business, and we actually don't have anything under old business. We'll move on to new business, and we do have a settlement agreement and release for the canine incident that we had this summer. We were able to reach a settlement with Mrs. Perez, and we just need commissioner approval on that. So we've had a chance to review the settlement and the release form and go forward signing it.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the release form.
I'll second that. Motion carries 2-0. Department head reports. Do we have any department heads that would like to go? Sheriff.
Volunteer first. Just a couple good things. Obviously, we received vehicles a week ago in regards to the Tahoes that were, purchased and ordered last January. So they're two are going to the upfitter, and it's about 2 every week will go get upfitted. Using a local vendor to do the striping on them on the marked ones. So we got 2 going there. Other than that, everything else is pretty status quo. We are installing all of the kitchen supplies or kitchen equipment that was purchased through commissary. Those are getting installed. I think it's either going to be today or in the first 3 days of this week. The electrician's going to stop in, make sure everything's going, because it was one thing we had to do was put in a little bit of an upgrade to the power sources, and so that's beyond the scope of what our maintenance people do. I do have a question about the assessment. Is that what I've already received at the sheriff's office, or is this a new plan to get there? Okay. And also on the billing of that, just keep me posted on where we're going with that on the cost, since, you know, the initial portion that we got at the sheriff's office, we picked up that payment through the federal inmate fund. So just keep me posted on the cost and where we're going with that. That's all.
Okay.
So do you have any questions for me?
Only question I have is follow-up from last meeting. Josh asked about the ordinance, if it was being enforced, 2109, in
Yes.
regards to the commissary payments.
Yep, it is.
It is? Okay.
Absolutely. It's from from that day forward. Now, the week that was in arrears was paid out, but
Yeah.
from that point forward, there's nothing has been paid out of, to the management of that fund until probably after, I guess we'll wait and see what the next court date brings.
Okay, yep. That's,
Anything else?
no, that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Sheriff.
Liz?
I got an answer for you on Fickle. So the campers had been removed, but there was still a pile of junk and debris on the site. So the judge did give him 30 days to have the last of that cleaned up and then levied a fine. And then they'll be back in court to see if they can close it out if they've got a settlement. But he's close, if he can get
Okay.
the last of it cleaned up. But that's where we're at the moment.
All right,
Right.
thank you, Liz. Any other department heads? Mr. Miller?
Just to give you an update, I sent out an interlocal agreement early this morning. I had a couple of changes that had to be made. The two changes on that interlocal agreement that Tom had come up with. One, they have a seven-member board instead of a five, so I added those two members. We also chose not to include the second ambulance that Rossville doesn't have electrical issues, so we did not take on responsibility of that. So those two changes. So I have a hard copy to give the commissioners for signage if you want to wait. That's fine. For the next meeting. But that'll be the interlocal agreement that will bring Rossville into Clinton County EMS. So we'll have that part of the county covered. So
Yeah, yeah.
Good job.
3 years. So all we have to do is, their board, I've talked with them, commissioners, and I'll be able to move that, interlocal agreement also. So, we'll move forward with that.
When is their meeting, do you know?
It will be, it'll be the first part of November.
Okay.
I can give you exact dates, so.
I think ours is the first. Would it, if it's okay, could we wait till then? I didn't get a chance to look at it this morning, and I think it should be fine. Tom reviewed it, but maybe we'll do it on the first and then
Okay.
just roll right into theirs if that's all right with you.
That'll be
Okay, great.
And, new building, will be up and running, should have people out there, this next week.
Okay.
Getting a few little things, I got a water line to run yet, and a couple little things, and then we're gonna get with Renee, to set up the dispatch procedure for how that get into rotation.
Oh.
Good deal.
Everything else is good, so that'll be open, right for business. Flagpole won't be up, but we'll be here about the second week in November, so other than that, we'll be done. All the major costs should be out, everything should be caught up now, so.
Hopefully.
A lot of things are paid for, and we'll just wait and get to it. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Good deal. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. Any other department heads? Okay, we'll move on. Commissioner report. Do you have anything, Mark?
No, I don't.
Okay. I have one thing, I guess. Renee's not here, but she let us know that the Frankfurt antenna is up and running finally. So I think many people are excited about that throughout the community. All of our first responders bared with us as we had some struggles with communication there for a while, but it sounds like things are heading in the right direction. So that was great news. I think that was on Friday. She let us know about that. The only other thing that I have is we had some correspondence about bids for the chillers for the jail and the courthouse. Boilers and chillers, right, Mark?
Boilers and chillers at the jail and just chillers at the
Okay.
courthouse.
Two other bids I think we need to probably get out here this week or in the next week are snow removal, maybe get on it a little earlier than we had in the past, so we're ready for it. And then also the fuel bids going into next year. So we'll work on getting those posted so we can.
We also have the gravel bids too. I don't know if that takes place at the same time as the fuel for the highway. Do you know?
Do you know, Rick?
It's usually a little bit later.
When does that usually occur?
I think now, maybe time now.
So that'll be an open bid?
I have people calling and be sending them up here.
Okay.
So that's for the gravel bids? Okay, all right.
Or stone,
Yeah,
hot mix and chip seal and everything.
Right.
so we could get those 4 bids posted.
I don't have any of the bids for the gravel or the or the fuel.
Okay.
I've never done those before. This it's Jerry. has it.
Jerry has it. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's really all that I have, so we will move on to our claims. In a matter of claims, we have dated October 15th, 2021, in the amount of $19,763.37. Biweekly claims dated October 18th, 2021,
Gas,
an
gravel.
amount of $1,094,206.91, and court claims dated October 18th in the amount of $31,385.65.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims as read.
I will second. In payroll, we have payroll dated September 24th, 2021, in the amount of $410,348.50. And we have payroll dated October 8th, 2021, in the amount of $405,105.58.
Motion to approve payroll.
And lastly, we have minutes from October 5th.
Motion to approve the minutes as read.
Second all those. With that, if there's no other business, I will accept a motion to, you have
So yeah, the snow bids. Last time we did, I think we did for like 3 years.
3, okay.
I was thinking.
What? 3, okay, we'll
Through
look at.
2023. So just to give you a heads.
Okay,
I think
all
that's what
right. He contacted me and said we only did a 1-year bid,
we did. Okay.
I'll look.
so we'll have to look
We'll look.
into that. So,
Sounds good.
all right. Thank you, Tom. With that, I'll entertain a motion